us to meet our next speaker. Mr. 𝗕𝗲𝗆𝗍, or Teacher Chris, is a senior pediatric occupational therapist. He graduated from University of Santo Tomas and earned 5th place in the August 2019 Occupational Therapy Licensure exam. He is also a trained clinician in 𝗕𝗲𝘆𝗶𝗆 oral placement therapy. We will learn all about the ways that you and your child can co-regulate with Teacher Chris.
Hello, good morning. Thank you again for everyone being able to come in here and take the time on their Sunday to have this opportunity to impart our knowledge, the things that we have been implementing, the things that we have been imparting to the parents. So this one is relatively somewhat new that you guys have, I think, have heard about on term of co-regulation, and this is my time for me to impart on just what it is specifically and how it can be implemented in their home. Basically, it's just my guide for you guys, no? Please bear with me as my internet has some technical issues right now. So if you see me that my voice or my camera or my connection seems to be a bit iffy, please bear with me as I try to reconnect. Thank you. So next slide, please. So here we're going to be talking about, I'm sure you have some questions about whenever your child is dysregulated, and we'll go through on how do they work and to understand it and to address it. I'm sure the questions that you've had are, how can I support my child during an emotional outburst, a behavioral outburst, without any form of behavioral or sensory reason? What techniques can I teach to help promote self-regulation? And are there any specific activities that help with promoting it? So I hope this presentation and the time that we have is that I'll be able to guide you and the caregivers in navigating what is sensory dysregulation in order to effectively foster co-regulation. Okay, so next slide, please. So, may tanong ko lang po, no? I'm sure that your kids have demonstrated this in not just in the therapy, but also in their homes and in different circumstances. Like for example, in the pictures as shown, is a kid suddenly screaming, a little girl suddenly being disconnected, just lying on the floor, not being responsive, or whenever there is a power struggle of, all right, that's enough screen time for today. It's time to go to bed, or it's time for school. And the transition is difficult, but I don't want to take some bath time, or I don't want to go yet. I still want to play. I just want for you guys to look into the middle picture wherein there is the scale or meter, much like nakikita natin sa mga makina, na reflect on where you are, you yourself, in response to a scenario much like I've mentioned. So, kamusta kayo in terms of the scale? Kayo ba ay nasa red, which is I'm a bit dysregulated. I am very dysregulated about what's happening. Are you in the orange when I'm somewhat dysregulated, but I can handle this? Or are you in the yellow, which is I'm calm because I know what's happening, why this happened, and it's time to strategize. And leading up to I'm a bit excited for what's happening. Um, so yun man yung pinakaunang step when it comes to, I think this was also covered by Teacher Carl, is that unang-una mo na is check yourself. Unang-una mo na is this stressing you out on what's happening that is in front of you or at present in this scenario and the circumstance that you are in? That's the very first step, because the key to co-regulation is hindi ka pwedeng makapag-regulate sa iyong anak or to anyone else kapag hindi ikaw rin, you yourself, is not regulated. No? So co-regulation by, next slide please. There can be also that this was covered by Teacher Mon earlier, wherein the sensory integration or the sensory processing and modulation difficulties come forth, and there's that disconnect of the brain, the thinking brain and the emotional brain, and also the brain that is present, that it gets overwhelmed by whatever it is that they are need to feel or feeling too much. So, although it is covered earlier, just a quick reminder on that pyramid learning is that the very foundation of learning is our sensory systems. And by whenever we mention dysregulation, next slide, please. I usually refer to, is it a sensory dysregulation, wherein it refers to a mind or body state which occurs when the body is out of balance due to experiences in the sensory environment. By sensory is it's everything that we're feeling, it's everything that we are experiencing, everything your child sees, hears, touches, and even internally they process it through, do they feel their body? Do they is there something in their body that's telling them that they need to move, that they can't sit still? And it occurs that what we're seeing is this is a naughty kid. This is someone who can't sit still or can't listen. In that state, we label them to, oh, uh-oh, this kid is not listening to me. But the the iceberg of it, what's below or what's underneath of that is it may be experiencing a sensory dysregulation. So the key outcome that we need to remember is we want to foster on self-regulation is that through self-regulation, it is their ability to remain an acceptable level of emotion, energy, behavior, and attention given the demands of their environment. And their environment is sensory in nature. And through that process, now, um, through that is how can we foster that is through co-regulation. But first, before I delve deeper into that concept, next slide, please, is I will show you a video when it is taken from YouTube. It is a perspective of a kid. It can be your kid, can be a kid that you see in a mall, experiencing in his lens, in his perspective, this sensory environment. And please later on, please keep into mind what you've seen in this video. As well, I will be discussing it further on. Also, warning, it is audio warning lang po for those who have earphones on or who have this in high sounds. Please note that the video has some high volume spot, no? So if you guys have adjusted your volume, I think that you can play na po yung video natin.
Six, seven, eight, nine. Take my hand. No, Alex. It's fine, isn't it? I'm not naughty. I'm autistic. And I just get too much information.
Thank you. So, this sensory dysregulation can occur not limited to kids with autism. It can be experienced by those in the range of the neurodivergent children, but even also for neurotypicals. We each have our own different sensory system or sensory profile. wherein biprophyl means to like ano ba yung what is our sensory are we sensitive to a certain texture, or do we hear things even from that are not that audible to others? So for me, I am somewhat of a tactile over over responsive, or I'm tactile sensitive that when it comes to foods or when it comes to textures of clothing, I'm very particular. Though I'm more explorative as I have desensitized myself and explored with family and friends, is that I know my own sensory system and what I can do with it, and how I can regulate myself, which is in response to the environment that I am in. I'm also somewhat much similar to the kid that is there in the video, is that I'm also very auditory sensitive, that if there is too much of ongoing and overlapping information, or masyadong maingay, kunwari sa mga party or sa mga masyadong maraming tao, is much like what Teacher Carl said, is I go find a calm corner, and like, and I do, if I'm with my family, I'm with my partner, I have this interactive process called co-regulation with them to help me. So yun na po. So we'll discuss those terms that I've said on the next slide, please. So covered already by Teacher Carl is that self-regulation is an act of managing thoughts and feelings to enable goal-directed actions, in which it covers managing emotions in a socially acceptable ways in different settings. It develops through interactions with parents, teachers, mentors, and basically people that we have interacted with and been with, because we model how do they do the managing, or how do they regulate. And self-regulation is vital for their development throughout life. And it is a skill that matures even until present, even until they reach adulthood. So you can't expect a kid who's below 5 years of age, why can't you control your crying? Why are you like this? It's because they're still learning how, and it is through the interactive process called co-regulation, next slide please, that they learn the regulatory support between caring and maintaining a positive emotional state. So, yun yung, kumbaga, we use ourselves. We use either the teachers, the therapists, mentors, and parents to the kid who's experiencing sensory dysregulation or even emotional dysregulation, to help them be in a state similar to ours, wherein we're trying to be calm. Yes, there is stress, and we're trying to help them calm down so we can better process with what's happening and be able to enact on skills that they need to um, practice and to master. So let's say, take an example of um, nangyari ay umiyak dahil nakuha yung tablet. Much like we have to know, much like covered by Teacher Drea's topic about behavior, is we need to learn ano ba yung mangyayari, ano yung magiging consequence nito, and but the timing of being able to process those behaviors should be in a state that the kid is ready to process those information. Because when in a state of dysregulation, wherein challenge nga siya sa environment, challenge nga siya na binigyan pa natin siya ng instruction, they will have to intake all of this to process, and will be very difficult. Para bang sa computer, try mong i-refresh, pero pindot ka ng pindot, so laging nagre-reset yung code or nagre-reset yung command doon sa brain nila. Or sa computer or sa brain nga ng inyong anak. Okay? So with co-regulation is we're trying to give into a point of understanding on, okay, you're being upset, this is what's happening, let's reset ourselves, and then let's talk about it once you regulated. Okay, so next slide please. So regulation and level of arousal, or arousal in this term, in this context, is the state of arousal is the activity level of your kid. Looking at as you can see, the line graph there is you have a line wherein kapag it depicts on different levels of arousal or activity level. Over arousal means nasa heightened state. Ibig sabihin, masyadong excited, very fast moving, very on the go, madaldal, keeps on talking, very hard to focus. The under arousal, wherein this is where a kid is very sleepy, drowsy, seems to very slow to respond, and takes too long to process the information. And the third one is the middle part is called optimal arousal. So optimal arousal, yan po yung the best way to keep, or kumbaga I usually refer this as the regulated state. Dito yung pinaka-best wherein the child can listen, the child can remain calm, the child can be challenged into be challenged in different skills. Like, pwede natin i-level up yung kanila skill if they're regulated. However, if nasa over or under, then it's best to know why are they in that state. Is it because that they're so excited, or they're being dysregulated by what's happening or shutting down, and to know that and respond accordingly to help them be in an optimal arousal. So, maraming factors po yung nag-affect sa level of arousal or regulation ng kid or sa atin din po, no? It is 5 usually. It is the sensory modulation or the state of our sensory profile, the state of health. So, madalas na po nagkakaroon ng sakit ngayon. So, that also greatly affects the level or the state of our activity level. An emotional event, this can be something that's very stressful. Like for example, emotional event would be nag-iba yung routine. Nag-iba lang ang timing ng pagbigay ng pagkain, or naagawan, or nag-iba lang ang way ng kanilang dinadaanan. So it's something that is very out of that impacts them emotionally, or even an interaction with a peer that can affect them. No? Next would be on the environment as well. So much like what I've discussed earlier is on the sensory environment. Maingay ba doon sa lugar na kung saan sila? Mahirap ba dahil ba sa classroom nasa dulo sila, maraming mga katabi niya, mga laging nag-uusap, kaya mahirap makakinig doon sa lecture, or wherein doon sa play area nila maraming iba't ibang textures siya nilagay, kaya hindi rin siya makapag go to interact with other kids. And of course, stress. Yes, kids also feel stressed. It is part and it is a normal response. And stress can be, yun nga, commonly ni-express nila sa pag-iyak. So, when your kid cries, it is not because it's just to manipulate. It is you have to consider different factors involved on why are they crying. And one could be either there is sensory, or there is stress, or there is an emotional event, or either they're sleepy, and so on. So, based on the things that I've said, nag-iiba-iba, kumbaga yung line wherein it represents a kid's or a person's state of arousal over time. So, hindi lang siya laging nasa state, and it's unrealistic for a person to maintain optimal arousal all times. Okay, hindi po yun normal na laging nasa optimal, but it is best that we are aware of the state of arousal of our kids so that we know how to respond to, okay, you need some movement, all right, here you go. All right, you are a bit sleepy, then we'll need to rest. And so that basically we know what to do or how to best respond. And same rin po sa atin, we can apply this to ourselves na nasaan ba akong state of arousal ngayon? Medyo bagong gising. I'll need coffee. That brings me up my level of arousal to optimal. Or I'm getting restless. I need to do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 technique. Or I need to do some deep breathing. for me to bring it down, that I'm not that panicky, and I'm able to focus on the task at hand. Okay? All right, so next slide, please. So you can also use, besides the line graph, to represent like over time, what is the state of arousal. You can also use in the moment would be at the moment of where they are stressed or dysregulated is, or even they are learning or kung ano man po, you can also use the meter that I've shown from earlier. Like on the right side na kung blue ay uh, naaantok, light blue, medyo inaantok pero kinakayanan. Green would be for learning, that it's very optimal. And high to higher arousal, yan na po yung pataas na masyado or even to the point na nagtatantrums or yung sensory meltdown na rin ang nangyayari. Okay? So, dun sa earlier video, next slide please. Paano ba yung, hold on. I just want you guys to siguro for this one is remember the video from earlier kung wherein the kid was exploring the mall. Doon sa mall na yon, try to draw a line graph na to see kung ano ba yung state na nasaan naglalaro yung arousal niya. So, for this one, maybe I can use a whiteboard. Wait lang. Wait. Teach ako muna mag-aano ng whiteboard. Paano muna nung share screen. Thank you. All right. So this one would be the line graph, right? This one is high. This one is optimal or regulated. Sorry for my writing. Please bear with me. And then this one would be low. So from the video earlier, no, kid going to a mall. I would say that the kid, while he was going to the mall, low pa lang siya, kakapasok lang, and then he detects all these sounds, patong-patong, yung mga coins, yung t-shirt, mga naglalakad, no? Then we notice something. Can anyone in the chat tell me, kailan kaya bumaba yung level of arousal niya? If you guys can remember. Kailan po bumaba? Nung state ng arousal ng kid from high, kung kailan naririnig niya yung mga sounds, to medyo bumaba siya. Yes, yung nag-count siya. If you guys can remember, he looked down, he looked at his hands, he looked at his fingers, and counted. So, parang ginagamit niya rin yung grounding technique, which is verbal counting, to help him regulate. But, when they stood next to the TV, yung mga display ng TV, biglang siguro nag-on at that point in time, umaas ulit at lalo nang tumaas nung narinig niya doon yung mop splashing onto the floor, mga sounds ng arcade, and to the point na nangyari ay yun, umiyak na siya, nag-cover na siya ng ears, he was going to the floor, and the parent was trying to help him calm down. So, yan po yung kumbaga example or like a visual guide that you guys can use to help nasan ka bang yung kid nyo or even yourselves to based on this scenario, based on this environment, and based on what's happening, where is my state of arousal? Because the best would be to be in the optimal state of regulation. But again, it is not normal that we keep going at like only in the optimal because that's not realistic. Our bodies are also telling us what we need, and based on that context, dun mangyayari yung pag-iiba ng activity level or arousal level. Okay? So, I'll reserve na lang po yung questions again for later. So continuing on to the presentation. Na-close ko lang po yun. So to help you guys, there is this called the co-regulation categories that you guys can use and remember in order to build on the self-regulation of your kid. First one would be providing warm, responsive relationship, structuring the environment, and teaching or coaching self-regulation skills. All these three categories are dynamic to one another, that they support and guide you in guiding your kid to self-regulate. Okay. So next slide, please. So how does it look like to provide a warm and responsive relationship? It is displaying care and affection. It is also responding and recognizing the cues that signal needs and wants. So ito po yung malaman natin, knowing our kid best on, okay, if they go into the corner, they're most likely they need some space, or they need some calming corner space, or they need to pee, or they need to do some toileting needs. We need to know and be responsive in terms of, okay, this is what you need right now, and I'll be happy to provide it with boundaries, of course. Providing caring support in times of stress, no? Much like earlier that I've said, is that kids can feel stress, and when kids feel stressed, we need to know, do they have the capacity to handle the stress? Are able to understand that in that instance they are feeling stressed? And so, as adults, or us, the ones that have the role of co-regulating with this kid, have to come into the state of, okay, I'm regulated. What do you need? Okay, let's calm down for a little bit. You're all right, it's not working. All right, what can I do to help you? No, so that I can get you back into that regulated state so we can better process what's happening. And then communicating through words and actions, demonstrating your interest in your child's world and respect for them as an individual, and committing to caring to them unconditionally. I'm sure all of us, or the parents here, have taken this role in this utmost importance. And sometimes, based on circumstances, sometimes we're not able to do that role because, again, we're normal beings, and sometimes life gets into the way, and stress can go into us, and we're not always in the state of we're gonna be regulating, and that's okay. The most important thing to remember is try to check yourself first before we regulate. Are you in the same capacity to regulate, to provide that responsive relationship and connection before you're able to regulate with the kid? Okay. All right, next slide, please. The other thing would be structuring the environment. Creating an environment that's physically and emotionally safe to explore and learn at their level of development without serious risk of their well-being. Applying consistent, predictable routines, and enforcing well-defined logical consequences for negative behaviors. Essentially, it is setting up these cognitive supports the kid is in so that they're able to know what is expected of them, and the boundaries in which they're able to navigate. Kasi when we set boundaries, we also have to stick to them, and it is clear for them. And if that boundary, let's say, no iPad time, no screen time, and they're yelling, they're screaming, they're throwing things, if we give the iPad back, what we're only doing is we're just letting them know that the boundaries can be breached, the boundaries, and crying works. And that's not it. Structuring the environment is this cognitive supports that making sure that the kid can process it and adapt to it. You know? This can also look like establishing routines of like a visual schedule of what the activities will be done for today, when is the time for, and even having maybe an opportunity when, hey, can I have some rest time? That we can be a bit flexible because the kid is learning on when to regulate. Now, next slide, please. And lastly would be on teaching and coaching self-regulation skills. So, ako, mahilig po akong magsabi ng modeling. So, what is modeling? Basically, modeling is we show them how to regulate. Because the kids, no, their brains are like sponges. They learn everything from what they are seeing, what they are taking. Even if it seems that they're not listening, they are listening. No? So we have to take note that from there, we have to be mindful of what we want to teach to them, what we want to impart on them, and we have to let them know this is how we do it. Okay. Scaffolding is basically making sure that when we give those we give more support at the start, but gradually fade away as the skill is being practiced, and which we provide opportunities for do so, and reinforcing that through the behavior management techniques so that they learn and hopefully master the skill of regulation. Next slide, please. So malapit na po, pwede na po tayo mag-lunch. Just a few na lang po, no? So for caregivers, the first thing again, what we have emphasized on is be aware of your own capacity for self-regulation. Pay attention to your own feelings and reactions during stressful interactions with the child or whatever you are interacting to. Pay attention to your own thoughts and beliefs about the behaviors of others. Know your own triggers. No, sometimes my triggers are different from yours. And use strategies to self-calm or stress management and respond effectively and compassionately. Next slide, please. So I'll be showing a video. So based on this video, if I can ask you guys to just answer the question of what do you see? So sige po, pwede po ma-play.
Simon sees a toy that he has to have, and he throws a huge fit to try and get it. Now he's allowed to play with this toy, but we don't want to give in to his fits.
You say please. Say more please. Do you want a car? We need a soft voice. So we can use a car. Or we need to use a nice soft voice. And we say please.
Please?
We love please. Simon can use a car. We love cars. We love Lightning McQueens.
So can anyone tell me what do you guys see? And if you can relate it to co-regulation of what we've been talking so far, that would be greatly appreciated. So anyone? You can also, if you want, you can also unmute or react, and the organizer will call for you so that you can share. Yun, yes, a regulated father, and he is calm, he is modeling what the kid who is crying, on what he needs to do, which is to request, to say please for the Lightning McQueen, in order to request for that toy instead of crying. Okay, so very good po. Next slide, please. So, yun po yung examples ng displaying care and affection. So, the father was going down into the level of the kid so that there's that eye contact level. Sometimes eye contact is not needed, but he's making sure that he's on that level to display his care, responding to the cues when he's crying. Because he knows what this kid wants, which was like the McQueen toy, communicating through words, which was just modeling after the gesture and even the word and even the tone of his voice para malaman ng kid, ito yung kailangan kong gawin para makuha yun. And applying that predictable expectation and providing that opportunity na siya rin gawin niya yun para magawa yung skill. Okay? All right, next slide, please.
Simon sees a toy.
So for parents, a good way to remember how to co-regulate is just remember agile approach. And it is short for a affect, wherein your tone and expressions convey your emotions. Kailangan po yung expressions niya. Even if a kid is not looking at you, they get to feel and they get to sense your expressions. So you need to maintain, if you want them to calm down, you yourself also have to have a mediated tone and a mediated affect wherein you're calm as well. Gesture in wherein your facial expressions, hand gestures, body movement, posturing, and pacing all reflect your emotions and are felt by the child during all interactions. Intonation is modulating of your tone, as your voice help convey affect and emotional meaning. Latency is wait. So, ito po yung primary example of calm down, calm down, calm down. Okay? Sometimes a good way is just saying calm down and then just wait. A good waiting of like 5 to 10 seconds before you're able to respond. Okay, again, let's calm down, let's count. Okay? Because co-regulation requires patience. And E is for engagement, wherein before you continue or before you're able to process the behavior, process what's happening with the kid, is make sure that they're engaged. Make sure that their body, their expressions, their sounds, and body language is telling you that they are ready to listen. Okay? Sige po. So, next slide, please. Next slide, please na lang po. Okay, next slide na lang po. Okay. So, last video would be again, audio warning, it will be a bit loud. It'll just be a 5-second video. Based on this video and based on what we've talked about, ano yung steps na kailangan nyo i-take after this video? So please play the video. Okay. I think nawala yung sound, but basically the kid wants snacks and he's screaming every time the mother was saying no, and dumating na sa paghampas doon sa kanyang kita. So, can anyone tell me ano yung mga steps na kailangan nyo i-take? And ano yung magiging response nyo doon sa kid na namalo or nagsisigaw dahil hindi nga siya binagbibigyan ng kanyang snacks? Yes, yan yung pinaka-importanting step would be to calm yourself first. On the video, it was not a bit hurt. Hindi po siya ganun hindi po since the audio is tick muted, sorry, is that sumisigaw na rin yung parent. Okay, no snacks. And pataas rin yung boses niya sumisigaw rin yung kid in response to the no. So, the first thing to do would be calm yourself first, and then, after this, is try to co-regulate with the child, no? On setting those expectations na it's not yet snack time, later, and being able to make the parent stay grounded by using agile, and even setting the boundaries of no hit, no snack. Okay, hit means snack, no snack. And let's sit down. I won't let you hit me. You can hit this pillow. Or you need to go to your calm corner first. I'll help you. Okay, I'm here. So, that's it. So, last slide na po. So, this is just some key takeaways. So, us, parents, caregivers, and us, the healthcare practitioners or therapists, have a critical role in shaping and supporting self-regulation development of a child from birth through young adulthood. Again, remember that regulation can be influenced by sensory modulation, the level of arousal, and environmental challenges alongside with state of health and any emotional or stressful events that affects it. And considering what their challenges are can help us how to help them be regulated. So for parents, remember to apply agile, affect, gesture, intonation, latency, and engagement, and consider what strategies or activities that you and your child would be most effective to achieve co-regulation. Again, remember, co-regulation is connection. Okay? You yourself can explore what strategies can be effective. But it's important to note is to explore and see what would work. Okay? You may even consult with the therapist on ano kaya yung magiging effective. All right? So thank you for listening. And that is it for my presentation for today.
Thank you, Teacher Chris, for enlightening us on how and why we should co-regulate with our kids. The co-regulation strategies you shared would definitely be useful for parents and therapists in helping their kids regulate.
That's right, especially the agile approach, a very simplified and easy to remember tip for co-regulation. So, if any of our parents or anyone in the audience have any questions for Teacher Chris regarding co-regulation, now is the time for you to raise them. So you can either raise your hand or send them through the chat. I think we have one question. Paano daw po pwedeng mag-co-regulate pag di pa nakakapagsalita yung kid?
Again, if the kid is nonverbal or has yet to speak, there's also to consider the body language of a kid. No, that is their body turned away? Is their body telling you? Do they want to move? Are they squirmish? So we can't focus. Parang take a step back and look at your kid overall on what are they trying to communicate, because communication is not limited by the language, the verbal language. Andun din po yung non-verbal language, and this can be attested by my speech therapist colleagues, no? That language is that connection and that kumbaga that intention as well to impart needs and wants. And it is up to the parents or you guys to best know ano yung tinatry mong i-communicate sa akin. Okay? So let's say they want their arms is outstretched and they're crying. It seems that they want some hugs. They're feeling dysregulated. They want some proprioceptive input because they're feeling very stressed of what happened or what is happening or what they're experiencing in the environment. And we have to interpret it and try to see, okay, let's focus on that connection, but also trying to, okay, I know you're upset, still giving that language facilitating techniques on you are upset right now, you're feeling stressed, it's okay, I'm here, staying grounded, and then yun nga, remembering agile, and yeah, basically that's it. Na you can't look at the verbal component in terms of dysregulation as a single component to it. Okay? You have to look at it at a wide range.
Okay, thank you for that, Teacher Chris. I think eto naman po, I think this is about arousal level. So, what if daw po yung kid ay medyo low arousal? Paano daw po kaya pwede mapapunta sa optimal arousal?
So, yun naman yung, kumbaga, an example that I said earlier was, pag sa adults, or even like sa teenagers recently, is that they take like coffee or tea para maakyat yung kanilang level of arousal. So, parang ganun din, na if it's low, doon nga doon sa line graph, gusto natin ipaakyat. So, as the therapist, is what we usually do is just, we either give like a sensory strategy that we want alerting task, no? Like sa swing, mabilis, or even kapag sa play, we want to model that, hey, I'm excited that you're here. We're gonna play. We want to have them engaged. No? But often not, no, meron rin mga circumstances wherein the health or very sleepy talaga yung kid that, all right, maybe it's best that we take some rest, get some water in, so that you get to have the, parang mapaptaas rin natin yan later on. No? Because their body is telling them otherwise. Okay? So, yun. Other strategies can even include like, for example, a kid is very disinterested or not motivated. That can look like low arousal, in which naka ano lang sila, nandun lang sila sa table, they're not listening, their heads are down. A good way would be using their interest, like stepping into their world. Ano bang gusto nila? Like, I have a kid, he loves Teen Titans. Okay, so I'll name Teen Titans. Let's get you motivated. Let's get you in this state that we're gonna be listening, we're gonna be challenging you. Or even, I have this kid, he loves Ice Age. So I set up the environment for him and even played some background that of an acceptable level, Ice Age background music that he's familiar with. And then yun, mas like engage siya, gumising siya kumbaga. No, so yun, that could be some of the strategies that you can look into to up the arousal level if from low.
Okay, thank you po for that, Teacher Chris. I'm sure pati po yung therapists nakinabang on the ways that we can maximize the engagement and motivation for kids during the session.
All right, so if we don't have any more questions, thank you, Teacher Chris, for taking the time. And for those who may still wish to clarify anything, you can still email us at sandboxwebinarseries@gmail.com when this is over, or you can also email us now or use the Zoom chat.